Hello. My name is Antonio, and you might know me for making music. Not a lot of music, but a little bit of music. Today we had more of a change of heart. We are looking at Five Nights at Freddy's, a very different topic that we haven't been on before. Now, before I get started, I want to make a disclaimer. I do not know everything about SNAF. I have been a fan for a while now, but even the biggest fans get confused on what they're looking at every once in a while. So, just be aware. If you hear some nonsense coming out of my mouth, I'm sorry. Now, to start us off, I wanted to go over some key points that happen in the story overall and see why they're pivotal to me and my theories overall. I know some of these are gonna seem outright outrageous, and at first, I thought so. I really thought so. Like the Dolly one I'm gonna get into, that's crazy. I honestly didn't think it. But we have some help along the way, and we kind of just gather information and we go from there. Now, this is my first real sit down and talk video, so this is very much out of my comfort zone, so please stay with me, y'all, and make sure to guide me along the way while I try to get some of you SNAF lovers to join me on this sick and twisted road that I've theorized on. It's weird. I love it. We're gonna go as we go, and I hope you enjoy the video. Please like, subscribe, maybe even listen to some of the music. I don't know, but here we go. Now, to start off, Edwin is a very interesting person to say the least. Creative, nerdy, not that great with confidence, inherited his father's company without having a full core idea on what he wants to do. But he's a strong-headed man. I think that's all of us. Next, we have William Afton, a father of three. Maybe not as soon as we see him, but definitely a father of three. A very bright man who seeks a lot of things that do not exist yet. A man who yearns for that feeling of somebody or something to never leave him. He can't deal with it for some odd reason. I think that's all of us once again. And last but not least of the important group, Henry. A man who is just a creator, a loving father, and unfortunately grabbed in the crosshairs of it all. R.I.P. You will always be remembered, Henry. Now, all of these three people had something in common. Fatherhood, a sense of cowardice, and lastly but not least, creative minds. All of them dreamed to build the unthinkable, and all they wanted to do was make kids have fun. But sometimes life shows you that those dreams aren't for everybody. Now, William already had some darkness looming inside of him. But who has time for that when you're a father of three? Constantly making sure your children are alright, while meticulously checking on your upcoming works that you gotta show off to your bosses. You just don't got time for that. Now, of course, William and Henry were both in the same company, but William always wanted to be ahead, never truly being beaten by Henry out of all people. Their inventions never really got the true respect that they wanted from the higher-ups, so William and Henry decided to create their own company. Freddy Fazbear's! Woo! Everybody knows that! They had no base models, no ideas, but they wanted something real. Something real, damn it! They wanted to create something with life, but never really had the official tools to make it now because they were on their own. They're a brand new company. So they started venturing, trying to find new ideas, new inspiration across the globe. And they stumbled upon MCM. This is going to be one of the worst stutters you're going to hear in your life. Murray's Custom Manor. Moving on. Now, Edwin is the owner of said company, and hell, recently too. Unfortunately, his father's death had occurred, and Edwin was forced to take his place in the company. And luckily enough for him, he was the head of the table, Roman Reigns style. Now, Edwin had a boo thing named Fiona who would encourage him and uplift him in his time of need. But life keeps moving until... Oh my god, they're married?! Yes, in a short, oh my goodness, in a short span of time, him and Fiona got married and even had a child, David, which adds to the burden of owning a business. Never having time for his own child, Fiona would tend to David for 7 years of his life, while his father worked hard on getting his father's company back on the ground, making it his own weird gadgets and cool coat hangers that never truly worked. And hey, even had an adventure where it makes the perfect cup of coffee for you. I don't know about you, but I would love that. William and Henry saw that and wanted to see what he can do, but they didn't have all the money to ensure that they would get the things he needed. So, struggling to make ends meet, they did something very, very bad, and something they would regret for the rest of their lives, even if they know they didn't. Now, as spoken to about Edwin, about the designs, they started to ask him to produce some of them, and surely enough, he did. Without even a lick of pay, out of his own kindness of his heart, they were ecstatic about this, and wanted to make sure that Edwin was getting ear candy, being told that the designs were amazing, but a week later, asking for the designs to change, after they had just been finalized. Now, during this time, MCM, you're gonna hear a lot of that, and Fazbear's had a co-relationship. Not being truly linked together, but setting up a fest nearby set a tone for their relationship. Fiona, in a craze, always thinking something bad was about to happen, she left Edwin a note, saying that she would be back soon only to help with the fest and make sure everything goes as planned. But unfortunately, something went so very wrong. The fest catched on fire, and Fiona was caught right in the middle of it, passing away painfully. William and Henry, seeing this, felt pain, and as they watched some of their work go down the drain, as for them, this was all part of their plan. After the fire, Edwin had struggled to keep the kid together, his business together, and most importantly, himself together. He was a mess. He knew he had got to do something, but he just didn't know what. So, he created what he knew would work from the start, mimic technology, and further improved it by giving a full-blown endoskeleton. His beloved son David looked at the mech in confusion, but ultimately understood that this was a friend. A creepy friend, but a friend nonetheless. Soon, they would start playing games and enjoying life together, and eventually, the mimic took up a personality of his own, a form of Edwin's now late wife, Fiona. Never truly knowing how this happened, he didn't care. He was more so focused on his work to make sure he could feed his son, and make sure everybody was working for him, but unfortunately, it would crumble very, very fast. Fazbear's kept asking for redos of the models, different colors, different bodies, asking for many different things, but also having his own company to worry about. Slowly but surely, his own workers would leave him. Then suddenly, his life crashed. His own son passes away after trying to have fun by the park. The mimic sent to fetch for him on his own birthday was now blamed for his son's death. Filled with rage and anger, he beat the machine, taught to take care in the ones he loved. It needed to. But now laying on the floor with broken metal legs that felt impossible to fix, Edwin abandoned the mimic. But as a mind of its own forms, it becomes its own, fixing itself to be able to walk again. The mimic strikes at Edwin the hardest and leaves him to die while Afton and Henry take his property, and with Edwin and his name slowly start to fall in the darkness, never to be heard again. Now, I say all this to bring up one invention he did make. Recycling! Yes, Nurse Dolly, in retrospect, not an important character, but what if I told you she was an important piece of the puzzle we've been missing this whole time? And I know everybody says this, but just please give me a second to explain. A couple years later, something known as the Bite of 83 happens.
Was that the Bite of 87?
No, Markiplier, not you. Afton's son, David, you'll see why I think that soon, is having a birthday party and unfortunately is killed in the mouth of Freddy Fazbear. On his last breath, he hears William say, "I will put you back together," as he fades to black. As sad as that is, it's a message that has stood with the Five Nights at Freddy's fans for the longest. And I think I may have known who might have helped Afton with putting his son back together. Or at least tried. Now, during Secret of the Mimic, we hear Dolly say specifically,
"I take broken stuff and turn it into new stuff."
And I know that's a simple explanation of what she does, but think of it in the long run. Everything has a long run meaning. Afton inherited everything after Edwin passed, so is it that hard to believe that he would reuse Dolly for a specific reason? Putting together things that are broken is Afton's MO, and if we take it a step further, we can also say that Dolly is the one who was repurposed for the simple fact of keeping Afton's son alive. I know, this sounds crazy. But do you know who we also see in Sister Location Night 4? Yes, a split-faced, a slightly curved mouth, paws, and tall eyes. It fits the description of Dolly perfectly. And in a room that is meant for repurposed old metal? Come on. I think that Dolly was repurposed to treat Afton's damaged son after trying to keep him alive with medicine, stitches, or whatever he needed, but it wasn't enough. The mimic technology was not that advanced at the time, and that's why we see Afton say, "I will put you back together," because it is the one thing that Edwin's technology was never able to do, and it carries another grudge with Afton to this day. And I think it's a very important pivotal part of the story, because we see Afton hold grudges all this time. It's not that hard to assume that he would try to copy something someone else did, and it just doesn't work for him, so he holds that grudge, thinking that no, it's not my decline that didn't work, it was his decline. It wasn't my invention, it was his invention that didn't work. But in the end, nothing will justify what happened. Now, I do appreciate you guys so much for listening if you have stayed all this way. I know this is just a really weird short video that is just a kind of one-off video. I plan to make more timeline videos, maybe even something a little bit more complicated, but I do want to make some of my music. I really feel a passion with music. I really want to start creating a lot more music, but it feels like SNAF is just calling to me in some way, just saying, "Help, please tell my story," and I feel something calling to me, you know? And again, I'm sorry if not everything is one-to-one. I tried to put my own cinematic view on it in the beginning, but with everything given, I think that this is a very, I want to say perfect take, but I could definitely see it being revealed in the future if it is true. But if it's not true, oh well, this is something that we all have fun with. But again, thank you for being here, guys. I greatly appreciate you watching the video through and through. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy, comment, tell me what you think. If you think I'm completely insane, or if you think I'm in a reasonable spot. But it's been your boy, A&M. Have a great night, guys.